channel. As you can see, today we're talking about power outages. If you haven't heard this in the news, I don't know where you've been, but it's all over the news, the government telling us that apparently we're going to have some power outages in the coldest month in January, February. Apparently we're going to have like a 4 hours between 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock or something like that. So basically a few hours. We don't know how long, how many days out of the month or how common they're going to be basically. So what I learned so far is whatever government tells us, then things are normally far worse than they do tell us. So it's very important to be prepared. In this video, guys, I'm not doing like preparing you for doomsday or a global power outage and grid down thing. Today, just literally a very, hopefully a short video just to tell you the things and how we are preparing for a power outages. Not that we cannot live 4 hours without power. Let's be fair, we all can do 4 hours without the power, and it probably will do our family a lot of good. The only thing I'm always skeptical about, because we live in the rural area, we always have power outages just when there's a storm outside, so, and they're normally longer than 4 hours anyway. So when they start telling this is going to be a planned outages for 4 hours, to me that's automatically indicating in my area probably half a day without electricity. So here we are. I don't want to scare anybody. Again, this is just the whole channel. My channel is about food and preparedness, and I like to be prepared for any eventuality. So one of the first things I'll say, guys, is to keep yourself warm, because they are going to pick the coldest days apparently, which sounds really daft and really horrible, but apparently to keep yourself warm is buy one of those things, right? I have one of those. It's like a wearable blanket thing. There's many options available online. If you don't want to wear a blanket, just have warm clothes, have like thermal clothing, have gloves and hat if you have to. It's nothing worse than I've seen many people, and I do apologize, many people sitting there online whinging that can't afford the heating, but they're sitting there in a t-shirt. It's like it's 5 degrees outside. You don't need to wear a t-shirt in the house. If you know, sense will tell you put something warm on, put the coat. If you don't have anything that's like that, put the jacket, put anything, put a scarf. Just don't sit there in a t-shirt and whinge that it's really cold outside, because that's not really the point. So anyway, first things first is, yes, get yourself warm. Because of the heating part, to be fair, none of us have the heating on constantly, especially not in the winter, and not with the price of the gas or electricity that is going to be, how much it's going to be costing us basically. So of course, yes, 4 hours, chances are you're not going to want to put your heating on, or you're not going to have ability to put the heating on. There are many things out there that you could, and you couldn't have a gas powered little heater things like this cooker, but it's actually a heater. I don't particularly feel the need for this, because I do think, guys, that for 4 hours we can do without. And generally I think as a majority people have their heaters on a timer, so nobody really putting the heating on like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But if you do, obviously that's a different matter. Anyway, I'm moving on into light, because from 4 o'clock it does start to get quite dusky. If you have children, by 5 o'clock it's actually probably pitch black where we are. So having lighting is so many things out there, guys, like little lantern things. There are rechargeable ones, and there are ones that comes with the batteries. This one's actually out of batteries, but you just twist the knob in. There are torches. There's all sorts of things you can have for lighting if you do need to maneuver yourself around the house. You have a little scented lights. Some of them really bright, some not, so you can put them around the kids' rooms. There are many things. A lot of them are like sort of from camping shops and basically online. So there's plenty of things you can do to have light. If you need to go and accomplish a task, you have one of those lights that it's scented, it's uber bright as well, so I'm not going to shine on you, but there's many things out there. You just only have to search online and you find yourself. But a basic torch will do you enough to be able to go downstairs or do something. Obvious thing is candles. Like, there's a lot of candles at the moment. They're still fairly cheap. £3.50, you got 2 candles. I think they've got like a 50-hour burn time each. So put some candles around. You've got tea lights. You have all sorts of things that you can obviously put the candles in. I didn't actually bring it in, but you can get one of these glass lanterns. So if you have children or pets, it's much safer to have one of those lanterns, so the candle is actually secluded. It gives you a little bit of heat, and it gives you light, and obviously keeps everybody safe. Not forgetting, guys, with again, stockpiling for the things. So don't forget, if you do use the lanterns that have batteries, have some batteries or rechargeable batteries, and then have a charger. If you have a rechargeable batteries, you need some lighters and some matches, and some. Again, as a prepper, I have a little bit of everything. You don't need to stockpile millions of lighters. You can just have a couple around the house because you can light up a candle with a candle, so it's not a big deal. There's many lighters out there. There is a digital lighters, which is rechargeable lighters. I haven't got one here, but they're a brilliant thing to have, and I find that a little bit safer than those kind of things. So that's the important bit to have. Just have one or two and you're fine. Again, we are just talking for the short time, basically. So next thing, let's talk. Oh yeah, sorry, no. Also, for the heating thing and lighting, one of those little storm lanterns, I think they're like super cute. It's like old fashioned. You know, the people used to put a kerosene inside or oil and basically then walk around with them in the night time. They give you heat, they give you light. I think they're pretty cool. You can pick them up for about £15 right now, I think, on Amazon. They're not as good of a quality and probably what they used to be when people used to rely on them. However, they do work. You can get them, and all you have to buy is a bit of oil, like a burning oil. This one is for the outside, but if you do choose to use inside, there is a clear. You can use the kerosene. A bit smelly, but you can if you have to. If this is your chosen thing, then by all means. Don't forget all of those things that you have. If you do go camping, you can be using them outside at a later date anyway. Right, power banks. If you do and can't live without your phone or anything else, then have few of the power banks, charge them up, and have few around the house. We've got loads. We've got them literally in every room, just shoved, just in case, because sometimes you might not be able to like trying to find a torch if you don't have one around and your phone might be running out of power. So just have some power banks ready, know where they are. You can always plug in and use your phone if you really, really, really have to. So next thing, going down to food. Means you have no electricity, means you cannot cook. If you have a barbecue, then that's brilliant. You can go and cook outside. If you can't plan the day around, and especially if there's going to be longer than 4 hours, barbecue is a great option, whether it's a gas barbecue or a wood-fired or coal barbecue. Then you can go and cook outside. Even if it's a bit rain, get the umbrella and you got to do what you got to do to feed your family. Don't forget, at the moment, still with the gas prices, gas shortages and whatever things they're threatening, if you do have an empty gas canister in your garden there, then go and get some gas. Just have a gas thing ready and have it full ready for the winter. So if you do need to cook with gas, then you can cook basically outside anytime, any weather. For the other things that if you don't have potentially garden or the barbecue, you can buy the camping stoves like this, and this one here, open up, you can put a little butane gas bottle. So I can't do this with one hand, but the little butane gas bottle goes here, and it's basically a portable gas stove. Though they don't suggest you use them inside, I don't see a problem if you really have to and you do desperate to cook it. Make sure you have some ventilation. Yes, I know it's a bit the objective of the cold day. However, if you do need to eat and you want to warm up the food, or this is the only option you have to use this to warm up the food, make sure it's on somewhere that, again, it's on a fire retardant surface, and you do have ventilation and do have fire extinguisher or fire blanket ready just in case, because they are technically not intended to be for the inside use. Also, the camping stoves, again, if you don't have a barbecue, you can pick those camping stoves outside for about £40 right now. This one's a camping gas one. You have to connect the big, like your big canister, the big gas thing that normally lives for the barbecue. So you can connect that to that. Again, you can use it. If you have to, you can use it through the window inside if it's like really bad and snowing and God knows what. But generally, again, it's designed to be used outside. But again, if you really feel like you need to eat, and obviously if things do continue and God knows what's going to happen, it's a really handy thing to have anyway. Talking about that as well, don't forget, if you are a tea or coffee drinker, don't forget to have one of those. A basic kettle that you put on the stove, because obviously if there's no electricity you can't make yourself a cup of tea. However, if you have one of those, you at least can boil yourself a kettle and have maybe one of those kappa soups and stuff. So it's, again, they're not expensive at the moment, you can still buy them, so we go with that. Right, so food, so we covered the cooking ability, food, or trying to have an ability. Don't forget to have your stash of like anything you can warm up in the tins or whatever, something that's simple, or just have some snacks ready in your kitchen cupboard, whatever that you choose to be. If you do really want to push the boat out and you want to like involve the kids, you can also pop up a tent inside and you can buy one of those like survival sachets of food. They already have a heat pad inside, so it activates by air and basically warms itself up. So they're not cheap by far. This is just like a bit of fun if you want to take kids to indoor camping. They're about 10 a pack, I think. There's one meal, but it basically is options out there for any budget and for any how much fun you want to make out of the really dire situation. Don't forget, again, water. Quite often where we haven't had power, we haven't had water. It all depends how major is the power outage or power cut. So always have some water. Have a drinking water, have cooking water. So if you do want to boil yourself a pasta or something, you have water to do. And don't forget, have a bucket, not bucket, but I've got, to be fair, one of those 5-litre things from like Lenore conditioner thing for the fabric softener, whatever. I have this in a bathroom just with the normal tap water. So if you can flush the bog, you don't want to be using the bottled water. I just store some, if you have the space, of a normal tap water in one of the bottles. So if you are desperate to go, at least you can flush the toilet. I know it sounds really bad, but we've all been in a situation at some point, I'm sure. Right, so what else have I covered? Have I not covered? Oh yeah, for the kids, right, guys, is the we've got to keep the kids entertained, because nowadays I'm sure many of them are just glued to the other TV or to the phone. So have some entertainment, like have some games ready, just have something. I've got some like light sticks, so if there's no lights, rather than kids running around with a torch, which might not be so much fun, have some glow sticks so they can make necklaces and just run around and glow. Do you know what I mean? It's like whatever your family do, whatever your kids like and do, it's basically just have some things to entertain themselves. And at the end of the day, it's only 4 hours. You can just go to bed and just snuggle in and read a book or play a game, or you can just have a conversation. People nowadays, I think, so used to be stuck in staring at their phones constantly. So to be fair, I think 4 hours probably will do a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of good by just spending a bit of time together, even if snuggle up in a bed or whatever. One of the things I was going to mention as well, guys, is, and it's something that my mum and my grandma used to do forever since I was little, when we had a really cold weather and obviously heating was a bit of an issue, is you tape your windows. You don't have to tape your windows on all of your house, but if you have a really drafty windows, you can certainly tape. And I've noticed that makes a hell of a difference, especially if you've got a lot of glazed areas. We've got some patio windows that have quite a bit of a draft. So I always tape the windows. So if we're going to have more of those power cuts, right, more where then obviously you warm up the house during the day and then power goes and it's cold and then wind blows and the heat goes out, is to pick a room in your house that you think you're going to spend your evening in the time of power cut. So if you pick yourself a lounge or kitchen or your bedroom, then just go and tape the windows. It's not always, don't have to tape all the windows, but tape the ones at least that have a major draft. And as a security, I totally understand if it's, God forbid, there's a fire there, I always have a knife or scissors almost taped to the side, like on the windowsill. So if you have to exit in emergency and you can't exit through the door, at least you don't have to fight with the tape in the window. You can just quickly sort of cut it out and exit if you have to. So there we are. Another thing, sorry, I did miss this, guys. There's many of the flameless little, this is like a chafing fuel, which is a little tub. They're not particularly cheap, but again, for the prepping and prepping for more prepping sake, basically, there's things there. You can open it up, you can light it up. It basically generates a lot of the heat. It's something I think is, again, designed for the camping. But again, if you're really desperate, you can pick up those things. And if you just research what it is that you buy, because there's a lot of options out there for us. And of course, last but not least, really, is booze. I know it sounds really bad, right? And you'd be surprised how much a tiny little tipple goes a long way if you suffer with sort of cold-related health issues. You can see I was quite cold yesterday. I have a bad circulation, so that means when it's really cold inside the house, however much of clothing I put in there, sometimes my hands, my feet and my face gets really cold, and it gets that cold that it hurts. And you'd be surprised that by having a little tiny, or not so tiny, shot of whiskey actually warms up your blood and encourages circulation. It makes you feel that much warmer inside. So there. And of course, this is for, if you watch the other video, you can have a power generator. If you really cannot live for hours of that power and you have to power whatever that you want to power, then one of the generators is a good way to go. This one is a solar generator. Obviously it's a portable one, so I don't have to have it connected to the solar panels, but if I do want to charge something, if I really have to, or if I really want to watch the TV, I can plug it in and watch it. Just for who might be worried about the fridges and freezers, your fridge freezer will absolutely fine 4 hours without opening the door in the fridge will be absolutely fine. Your chest freezers and general freezers are absolutely fine for 24 hours if they're half full, and 48 hours easily if they're really full up, if you just don't keep opening the door. So technically you don't have to worry about the food. unless, again, we go into some sort of a major crisis and outage. So hopefully, guys, anyway, hopefully I've covered the basics of the incoming power outages. And in the end of the day, I think, like, don't look at it like it's going to be, oh my God, it's all that horrible, 4 hours without, 4 hours without electricity. Even if they do this for the week, 4 hours a day, just trying to enjoy the time, trying to spend time with each other without the electrics, without all this unnecessary stuff that we put upon our lives just to keep ourselves entertained. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.